Hello guys, how are you doing today? Welcome to your weekly dose of Trainer Talk Tuesday. We are so glad to have you guys here. And today we are talking about how to get six-pack abs without doing any more sit-ups. So guys, this was a special request and we wanted to make sure to address it. So we have 6 different things that you can do that have nothing to do with adding more sit-ups or core workouts into your routine. So we're gonna get right into it here, guys. The very first thing that you can do to work towards getting those six-pack abs is to cut out all processed foods and increase your protein intake.
Right, so yes guys, so like we said, this is how to get that six-pack abs without having to do any more core routines. And the main thing is that the abs are built inside the kitchen. So right off the bat, that's what we're gonna get started with, is cutting out a lot of those processed foods, a lot of those foods that has a lot of things attached to them that tends to cause our body to build an excess of fat, which is a thing that is going to matter most when it comes to trying to get those abs to become revealed. Because right off the start, guys, everyone can get abs, but it's gonna start there in the kitchen, and getting those processed foods out of your diet is going to be very, very huge. And what are some of those processed foods we can be talking about?
Yep, guys, so we talk about these things a lot. Processed foods are going to be anything that are pre-made, so these pre-made meals, anything that comes in a box, a can, a bag, okay? We really want to encourage you guys to start incorporating more real whole foods into your diet. So these are going to be your fruits and your vegetables, your healthy grains, things of that sort. So you should be going to the grocery store and picking out the ingredients to make your own meal, not grabbing one item that already has everything combined, because typically when you get those items, they're gonna have a lot of additional ingredients into that one food item that is unnecessary, and it's going to cause not only you to gain fat, as Nate mentioned, but it's going to cause you to have health problems down the line, because it's unnatural to our bodies. There's a lot of preservatives in them. There are a lot of things in these types of foods that our body does not process well, like refined sugars. We've talked about the inflammatory foods quite often, so we'll just go over those very, very briefly. Gluten, dairy, refined sugars, caffeine, and alcohol. These things cause inflammation in the body, and if you're really wanting to get definition, which is what it comes down to, if you're wanting your abs to show, then you're gonna have to eliminate or drastically reduce the amount of intake on these things, because they cause inflammation, aka bloating.
Right, and that pretty much takes us into number 2, because everything that I was gonna...
Well, I'm sorry, we said we gotta increase your protein intake. So we're gonna talk about that real quick with number 1. Your abs are a muscle, just like every other part of your body that you work out, right? And in order to gain muscle, you have to have a certain amount of protein into your diet to allow those muscles that you break down in the gym to repair and to become stronger and to become more defined and to be work more efficiently for you. So you need to increase your protein intake if you are looking to get those six-pack abs.
Right, so like she said, you definitely got to increase that protein intake. That is going to be a way for your body to actually burn fat and build muscle. So if you have known anything about just working out and how to change the body and how to get your body to really get to where you want it to do, as far as responding to your workouts, actually regenerating and building themselves up, then you know you're going to need more protein. That's where the protein shakes and everything come in that you may see people having around the gym once they finish up. That's because normally there's like a 30-minute window available there, that once you break those muscles down in the gym, something I was just going over with a client with the other day, but once you break your muscles down in the gym, there's typically a 30-minute window there before your muscles start to regenerate and build themselves up, that recovery process, that you need to get that protein in, so that when those muscles do start to redevelop, they're able to get bigger, stronger, and actually benefit from that workout that you did. So that's what that process is about. So protein shakes are good for situations like that, because it's hard to necessarily get to a meal once you're leaving the gym and you're driving home and that 30-minute window closes. So a good protein shake at those times are very, very beneficial for people. We don't necessarily talk about them very much because we don't like that with, if we do, a lot of people like to use those as meal replacements, and that's something that we definitely don't stand by. We still want to encourage you to get a lot of real food and natural foods at that, which is what we're talking about here. So number 2, like we were saying, to kind of finish up about those processed foods, you want to be at a caloric deficit. So when we talk about those foods having a lot of things in there that you don't need, that's going to cause you to necessarily have a calorie excess, which you really don't want to have when you're trying to lose a lot of body fat, really get the inflammation out of the body, having your body retaining a lot of calories, retaining a lot of water weight and so on like that. Because you're getting a lot of those things in from those processed foods, it's going to keep you and hinder you from actually getting to that step that you want to get to. So being at a caloric deficit is going to be very, very important here. Everyone has abs, guys. We all do. This is something that I was just saying a while ago. It's just about you really putting the right things in, and it's going to be harder for some of us because we all have different body types, but that's okay. If you stay consistent and you stay true to that process, trust me, you will have abs too.
Yep, and like Nate said, all of us have abs, and that's where the caloric deficit comes in. You have abs right now, you just can't see them because they're hiding under a layer of fat. So that caloric deficit is going to help you remove the excess amount of fat onto your body and allow those abs to start showing. So ultimately, that's what it boils down to, guys. You have abs already, you just need to get them to a point where they are able to be seen.
And pretty much the theme of this right now, guys, is we're talking about body fat. A lot of the things we're talking about right now is really attributing to you really limiting and cutting your body fat. That's the main thing, is you want to have your body at a certain body fat percentage so that your abs, that muscle there, that layer is not hidden under a layer of fat, which is what that means. So we're trying to cut the body fat. We're trying to get you as lean as you possibly can. So being at a caloric deficit, cutting a lot of those processed foods out of your diet right now are going to be some of the starting steps and really trying to get those abs revealed. No matter what you're doing in the gym, if these things are not existing, you are never going to see that change. So you gotta really, really focus on the kitchen and really have your body taking in less than you're putting out. Less than you're putting out at the time, so that you're actually burning the fat and your body is actually losing and reducing the amount of size that it is now.
Yep, and that kind of goes along with the increase in protein intake, because as you're losing that fat, we want you to maintain as much muscle as possible during that time. So as we mentioned before, getting that high protein intake into your diet is going to help with the reduction of muscle mass that will take place while you're in that deficit. But number 3, guys, you need to drink more water and reduce empty calorie beverages. So things like soda or beer. These things have no nutritional value to them, and they are typically high in calories. So it's very easy to consume more calories while you're drinking them than as opposed to eating them. So make sure that we are limiting the majority of what you are consuming beverage-wise to just water.
Right, and if you're wondering how much water that is, whatever you weigh now, whatever your body weight is, you want to be drinking half of that in ounces. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you want to be working towards 50 ounces of water a day at least. And for a lot of us out there today, because water isn't the main staple of what we're drinking on a consistent basis, you can be at a deficit. So getting a little extra water is going to be beneficial for you, and it may speed up the process so your body is able to flush it out, understanding that you're going to be more consistent with giving it the fluids that it needs to be able to do the things that it is meant to do. So getting a lot of those liquids in, natural liquids, water being first and foremost, is going to be very, very important.
Yep, and as Nate mentioned, that's the absolute minimum. That's why you hear a lot of professionals say you need a gallon of water a day, and for most people, that's okay. As Nate mentioned, half your body weight in ounces is the minimum. So when you start factoring in, like he mentioned, if you're already dehydrated or if you work out, if it's hot outside, All these different things can come into play, which is why, typically speaking, most people need to work their way up to about a gallon of water a day. But if you are nowhere near that, half your body weight in ounces is a great goal to have and to start doing consistently, because that's the bare minimum, guys. You have to at least get that in, or your body is not going to be working the way that it needs to.
Yes, and also a way to really work your way towards it, because no one is just going to start drinking a ton of water or eating a certain way if you don't have a a craving to do so. So to develop that craving, to really get your body more receptive to wanting water, try to sip periodically throughout the day. Don't wait until you feel thirsty or anything. Just have you a water bottle or a bottle of water nearby and just sip on it periodically and get your body used to taking in those fluids, and then it'll naturally start to crave for some. And if you're working out, if you're in a gym and you're sweating and you're burning a lot out, then obviously you're going to need more fluids to recover and to keep your body hydrated from everything that you're pushing out in the gym. So definitely want to make sure that your water is the main staple there. Just like with the diet, we always talking about having lean proteins and fruits and vegetables first, and everything else after that is pretty much at a minimum based off whether you're trying to lose weight, gain weight, or right now, get some abs.
All right, guys. Yeah, and as Nate mentioned with the water intake, something that I have found to be very helpful for myself and for my clients, when you first wake up in the morning, try to drink at least 8 to 16 ounces of water before you even brush your teeth. This really triggers your thirst mechanism. I find that far too often people find that number very intimidating as it relates to getting water intake in, because they start too late in the day to start actually drinking water. A lot of people wait until noon or after before they ever take a sip of water, and if you are not used to drinking a high volume of water, I strongly suggest that you start drinking more as soon as you wake up, because that's really going to help you get into that mindset of drinking water. It's going to trigger your thirst mechanism so you feel thirsty, and then kind of gauge it throughout the day. Like Nate said, small sips. By noon, you want to actually have about half the amount of water intake in for the day, so that's like a good number to hit and to aim for. That way you're giving yourself checkpoints throughout the day where you know, hey, I'm way ahead of schedule, or I'm behind, I need to catch up a little bit and drink some more, I have been slacking. So kind of set visual reminders like that for yourself. Maybe even put it in your phone and set timers for you to drink every few hours and to catch up on those checkpoints that we talked about. That way you make sure that you're not falling so far behind, so by dinner time you're looking and you haven't even gotten half of what you need for the day, and now it's kind of too late.
Right. So, and the last thing I want to mention about that, because we do need to keep moving on, is that a cool thing about that, what should motivate you to want to start drinking more water, is that it is going to help you see some early results. So if you really hydrate the body quickly, in the earlier process of you really starting to change and work out and so on, we tell this with clients early on because it gives them some momentum, some more motivation to get started in that process after a few weeks or so, depending on how consistent they are. But your body will flush a lot of that inflammation out, and you will see a change. You will see your body lose some inches, lose some overall weight right away. And then from there, that'll just want to push you farther into that process. So go ahead, guys, really try to get your bodies hydrated and watch how that just continues to roll the ball for you. But moving on to number 4 here is something that you may not think about, but it's always going to be very critical to the overall health and where you're trying to get your body to, no matter if that's putting on weight, gaining weight, losing weight, getting ready for an athletic event, a season, whatever the case may be, but to reduce stress in the body. So you want to make sure that your stress and your body is in a good, comfortable state where it's all balanced out, because excess cortisol stores fat in the belly. So when you have an excess of cortisol in the system, meaning your body is pumping out a lot of that hormone in the system, it's causing you to gain belly fat, and it's also increasing cravings for you to want to go ahead and start eating a lot of those processed foods and those foods that are high in redefined sugars and so on, and just cause a lot of bad things to start going on in the body. And it's all going to be based off how you're feeling. So you want to be able to control that aspect of getting some abs as well, which is crazy, and it's probably the least thing to think about when it goes into the process. So
Yep.
don't skip out on that.
Guys, super important. Like Nate said, it's something that a lot of us neglect. But if you are under an immense amount of stress, and it's a situation that you can control, then control the situation to reduce your stress levels. If it's a situation that is really out of your hands and is not going to change anytime soon, then you have to develop positive stress management habits. These things include, but are not limited to, exercise, prayer, meditation, stretching, things like yoga, massage therapy, essential oils, going on a walk, listening to music, okay, journaling. There's so many different things that you can do. I suggest you find 2 to 3 things that you enjoy, that you know will immediately calm you down, immediately release some of your stress that you are going through, and practice those things every single day, regardless of the amount of stress that you are under at that time. And for people who are under a lot of stress right now, one of those things needs to be something that you can do at any time of the day. So even if you're at work, right? So what do I mean by that? If you're working, you may not be able to just like clock out and go on a walk, right? But you can say a little prayer in your head, or you can practice positive affirmations and say them out loud or to yourself. So you need to find things like that as well that you can do in the moment, regardless of where you are, what time it is, or what is going on.
Absolutely. So guys, stress levels, keeping your body, keeping your mind in a positive state, mental health, all of those things tie in, and you want to make sure that your body is in a good balance. And the next portion that we're going to get into here is kind of going to assist with that. This is something that I like to call the domino effect for the most part, is once you start adding a lot of these things in, a lot of these other areas start to fall in place. And if you just stay consistent with it, you will be amazed at some of the results you can get, depending on how hard you work and how consistent you stay, how fast you can actually get some of those results. But keeping those stress levels low is important. And moving on, getting to the exercise portion of it, because even though it's not the most critical aspect of it, it's one of the things that we can most control right from the start, and it is going to be an assistance to you lowering your overall stress levels. Like we said, like if doodling, drawing on the aspect, writing, going on walks, whatever the case may be, something that you can do to relieve a level of stress. Exercise, like we said, is one of those. So getting some physical fitness in may be a great start for a lot of you, and it's going to need to be a part of getting some of those abs as well when it comes to how you're working out in the gym. So compound lifts, guys, these are going to be movements that are pretty much going to be based off of 2 exercises, sometimes 3 to 4 put together to create one overall movement. But the total purpose of doing compound lifts is not only can you kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone, but it also is going to cause more stabilization in the body and focus within the core, and you're going to build up a stronger overall core, and that's going to assist you with building up abs as well, as getting those core muscles stronger, but just not from doing sit-ups and leg lifts and so on. Actually practicing movements is going to cause overall strength build in that area.
Yep, guys, and right now, compound lifts that we're referring to, and we'll kind of get into the next step after this, are going to be more of your heavier functional foundational lifts. So things like, you know, a barbell back squat, or a deadlift, or bench press, or push-ups, or whatever it may look like for you. These movements, they have to recruit so many muscles at once for that movement to be done properly and with good form. And as Nate mentioned, people really neglect how much we use our core to stabilize in those movements. The core has to be activated. It's what keeps you from falling over when you're performing these movements. It allows you to do them efficiently and effectively. And your core is a huge part of this. And that's why you really don't have to do a ton of isolated core movements to get the results you're looking for, because these movements recruit all those muscles at once. It's recruiting so many muscles into one lift. It's almost insane how much the body has to work and how much your central nervous system has to respond in order to perform these certain moves. And if you're practicing progressive overload, which means as you get stronger, you lift heavier weights, then you're really going to be in a position to get that six-pack that you're looking for.
Yep, absolutely. So guys, having a strong core, to say the least, is going to assist with you being able to do a lot of the things that you want to do in the gym. It's going to help you have a stronger back squat. It's going to help you have a stronger bench press, a shoulder press, all of these different movements that you perform, because you're going to have such a strong center that you're going to be able to balance and actually push and focus in a lot of those areas without having to overcompensate, because your core isn't strong enough to be able to support the amount of weight that you're trying to lift or that you may be capable of in a certain area, but the body isn't in a position to be able to stabilize and maintain and control the weight. So getting that core strong is a very, very strong, critical thing, and not just doing those basic isolated moves, but doing some compound moves, some things that's gonna cause you to have to do those things like stabilize is going to be a lot more assistful. And then moving on to number 6 here.
Yep, number 6 is pretty much a continuation of number 5. So these are also compound movements, but we're now incorporating the high intensity explosive movements into our exercise routine. So we want to put an emphasis on these explosive high intensity movements over and prioritize them over doing like high excessive amounts of cardio. So what do we mean by high intensity explosive movements? Things like sprints, okay? Things like sled pushes, which are basically a weighted sprint, right? Right. It's a weighted sprint at a different angle, okay? Even things like burpees or mountain climbers, okay? These are still compound movements, but they're going to really get that heart rate elevated. Not saying that the heavier lifts don't, but these are going to be more of your cardio-based movements that you want to start incorporating into your routine to keep that heart rate elevated for longer periods of time. And this is way more effective, guys, than you just walking or jogging on the treadmill, doing the elliptical or the Stairmaster for hours. This is going to really get you the results that you want in a shorter amount of time.
Right, guys. So we're talking about fast-paced movements, sometimes in most cases that are short-lasted, but causes the heart rate to really have to exert, really have to boost itself up. And then you want to keep your rest periods at a minimum as well, so that you're constantly in that point of where your body can start burning fat fast while it's still building muscle. And just to add in something that I love to tell people, is that sprints, for the most part, is the #1 ab exercise when it comes to really building overall abs, because not only is it a high intensity movement as far as cardiovascular exercise, but you're getting a lot of core work at the same time with the explosive high knee movements, where you're driving those knees into the chest. You're really trying to get up, stay on the toes, and exert that body just like as if you're doing a high knee in place, which is something that a lot of people do. So doing sprints is very, very beneficial to getting abs, if that's something that your body is able to do based off what your knees may be able to endure or anything like that. But it is a very, very good way to assist in building up those core muscles while still being able to do some intense cardio, fast-paced movement at the same exact time.
And one of the main reasons that we tell you to incorporate things like sprints into your routine over like long distance running, for example, is because of that cortisol release that we mentioned earlier. When you do excessive amounts of long duration cardio, it's going to put your body in such a caloric deficit, and we mentioned that you do need to be in a caloric deficit to get your body, to rid your body of fat so you're able to see your abs. But if you're way off from where you need to be, if you're too low in calories, then that can create problems. And when you're doing excessive amounts of cardio, it actually aids in breaking down muscle So you're losing body fat, but you're losing way too much muscle in relation to the amount of body fat that you're losing. So you're losing both at high amounts and a short period of time, and that causes your body to release that hormone that we talked about, that cortisol. And when that cortisol is released and it's in high levels in the body, then you're not going to be able to see your abs. You're not going to be able to get definition, and you're not going to be able to put on muscle when you decide to get to that point, because your body just cannot function when it's under that amount of stress. You're gonna have to reduce the amount of cortisol levels by practicing the stress management, by possibly taking a supplement if needed. You can burn out your adrenals by doing things like this. So it really has a huge effect on the body, on your adrenals, on your thyroid. And it's not going to get you to where you want to be. It's going to get you in a position where you're overwhelmed and you're like, well, I'm working hard in the gym. I'm walking 20,000 steps a day, and I'm not seeing any changes. And we see and hear this so often, and it's because of that stress hormone. It's because all of these other things that we talked about, that you're really having your body fighting against you. And we want you to be aware of those things so you know how to avoid it, or if you're already in that situation, how to get out of it. So guys, I think the main question is, are abs made in the gym? Is that true? And based off of everything that we went over, I would say yes, it is true. I would also say they're made in the gym, right? But it's a combination of what you're eating, what you're doing in the kitchen primarily. Okay, that's going to be the bulk of it. That's the priority. And then what you do in the gym is just going to complement what you're eating outside of the gym. So yes, absolutely. Abs are made or are shown, because we learned that everybody has abs. So your abs are visible because of what you're doing in the kitchen, but then yes, also what you're doing in the gym. And guys, we didn't talk about crunches, sit-ups, leg lifts. We didn't discuss anything like that, because those are such an insignificant part of really getting those six-pack abs that they're not worth us mentioning, because all these other things play such a huge role into getting you where you want to be, that they have top priority.
Yep, just trying to reduce the level of fat in the body, guys. That's what it comes down to. So the less amount of fat that you have in the body, the more likely you're going to be able to see your abs. So
let's recap then.
Yep, let's go ahead and recap. Number 1, cut out processed foods
and increase your protein intake. Number 2, you want to be in a caloric deficit, because as we learned, everybody has abs. Some people just have their abs hiding under a layer of fat. So you have to rid the body of the excess amount of fat to be able to make them visible.
Right. So that means, guys, you're putting out more than you're putting in, as far as you're burning more calories in the gym and being active than you are eating.
And then guys, number 3, you need to drink more water and avoid or drastically reduce the amount of empty calories that you are taking in through beverages. So avoid things like beer or soda. Number 4?
Yep, number 4, stress. Again, reduce the level of stress. Try to keep those cortisol levels as low as you can. That way your body isn't storing and building more belly fat.
And number 5, you need to start practicing compound lifts, specifically the fundamental heavier lifts, and practicing progressive overload. And last but not least, guys, number 6, the 6th reason and way that you can get six-pack abs without having to do another sit-up is to
incorporate high-intensity movements.
Yep, guys, so those are your sprints.
Keep your body,
sled pushes.
Yep, keep your body pretty much like I tell people, I'm gonna keep you under pressure all this session, where you just constantly feeling like you're moving. Those rest periods are small, but those movements are very fast paced and sometimes even short lasting, but you wanna make sure you're really, really working and spiking that heart rate while you're doing it.
All right, guys, there it is. 6 tips on how you can get six-pack abs. We would love to hear from you guys. Did you find this helpful? Have you tried any of these things? Were any of these different steps a surprise to you? Let us know, give us some feedback in the comments, and if you are watching this on replay, go ahead and hashtag replay to let us know that you did join in.
All right, guys, and there you have it. So we will see you back here next Tuesday, 2 p.m. for Trainer Talk Tuesday. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Yep, and as always, guys, never give up.
Never lose hope.
Never
and
settle.
Never settle.
See you guys here next week.